Today's The Chad Prather Show is sponsored by ExpressVPN. Your online activity shouldn't be public. Protect yourself at expressvpn.com/watchchad. Oh, party time, Mom. Welcome to another episode of The Chad Prather Show here in the mothership, which is Studio 22. Puppet Master Mark at the helm. And, of course, Candice, the queen of the Ethiopians. I was looking at you this morning, Candice, and I was like, you remain a mystery to me. Like, I think I know what you are, but I'm not quite sure completely.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah.
I'll keep it a mystery.
You got some weird blood in you, girl. Some weird stuff.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, sort of. I don't want to do the DNA test, though. I want to keep it a mystery.
I'd like that, too.
You shut your mouth. I don't want to hear anything out of you. She's probably 100% Eastern European white.
I feel it.
Yeah, let's go with that. You're Candice, the queen of the Ethiopians. People are still asking me, like, where does that come from? Acts chapter 8.
I was going to say it's the Bible. Straight from the Bible.
Read your Bibles, people. Oh, hot news, Natalie. Talk about somebody that needs to read their Bible. My gosh. Well, based on what you were wearing on the show the other day.
Oh my God.
Need you to keep it together.
That was a summer
dress. What
dress.
possessed you to come here naked?
That was a summer dress.
Oh.
It forced some of us to go read our Bibles.
Yeah. It caused Party Foul Steve to have to hurry up and drove me to drink.
I put pants back on.
Yeah, that a girl.
Need some more Chad Church in our life.
Listen, I gotta tell you, we were talking about this before we started. We had Tim Young on last week, and he was kind of razzing you a little bit. Y'all were razzing back and forth. People aren't privy to what we do off the camera. Like when the cameras are stopped and we're on the break. The breaks are like that for some people, but for us, it might take 15 minutes. And
right.
You guys are razzing each other, and we forget what people hear and don't hear.
True.
While we're talking.
Yeah, he said more on camera. I said more off camera.
Off camera.
But
you
great.
gave it to him pretty good, because there were people who were saying, I can't believe Chad allowed him to say that to Natalie. And I'm like, yeah, but Natalie was giving it pretty good back to him, too.
Yes, I told him he was like a second grade schoolboy recess punching me in the face because he likes me.
Yeah. Exactly. You were basically telling you were like a little bully that's got a crush.
Yes.
Exactly.
He was fine, though.
And he kept calling you what, Nasty Nancy?
Nasty Nancy, Naughty Natalie, or
Naughty, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It was all of those.
It pissed people off. So Tim Young will never be on the show again.
Thank you for having
That's
my
fun.
back. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So if you guys want to give @Tim runs his mouth a hard time, he runs his mouth. That's true. But I didn't even think about it being a hard time because y'all were giving it to each other. But anyway, we got a good show in store for you today. We're going to talk about a little bit of history. We're going to talk about a brand new book. You know how I am with my books. We got a special guest. We're going to talk some civics with you. I'm going to embarrass you guys because I'm just ashamed that we Americans don't know our civics any better than we do. And I'll get to that point later on. But we're going to have fun with you today, and we might even call Natalie some more names. All right? There you go. Hey, listen, if your mailbox is anything like mine, 90% of the time, it is a fairly depressing place. Political flyers, utility bills, unholy amounts of coupons. But once a month, I do have a reason to be pretty excited because my box of awesome from Bespoke Post comes in. Bespoke Post sends guys only the best stuff every single month, and no matter what you're into, Box of Awesome has you covered. From style and grooming goods, barware, cooking tools, outdoor gear, Box of Awesome has carefully built collections for every part of your life. In fact, I think I'm going to buy a subscription for Party Foul Steve, so that way you'll get a gift from me every single month. Are you excited? Look how excited you got right there.
Bring it on.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to sign up today
free stuff
to send you because you're a scavenger and you like cool stuff.
I do.
So we're going to do that. They're going to release a new box every single month across a ton of different categories. It's free to sign up, and you can skip a month or cancel anytime. Each box costs only $45, but over $70 worth of gear, sometimes even more. You're going to get 20% off your first monthly box when you sign up at boxofawesome.com. Then enter the code WATCHCHAD at checkout. That's boxofawesome.com with code WATCHCHAD for 20% off your first box. Go there today, and we'll be right back. All right, we're back. I want to welcome in studio today my good friend Nick Adams. Nick is, Nick's from Denver? It's like
South Denver. Very deep south. Southwest.
Other side of town. That's for sure. Welcome on the show, man.
Chad, it's always a pleasure to join you.
How you doing with all this craziness?
It's pretty crazy. But look, I'm healthy. My family's healthy. I'm just hoping for better days. That's all we can really do.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I hope we don't go to this new normal that they're talking about.
I hate that phrase.
I don't know about you. I want to just go back to normal.
Yeah. I mean, it was already, if you used to say, hey, act normal, people would be like, well, what's normal? And now everybody's throwing around new normal, and I don't like that phrase at all. It sounds Gestapo to me.
No, I want to go back to being an American.
Yeah.
I want to go back to working. I want to go back to making money. I want to go back to thriving. You know, we're not made to just tread water, Chad.
Yeah.
We want to swim.
Yeah. That's exactly right. I'm all about liberty. I'm all about freedom. You are. I mean, you're from another place. I mean, you immigrated to this country
for that reason. I chose to come because of the freedom and the liberty that exists in America, unparalleled anywhere else in the world. Here in the United States, I came because this is the best country in the world, Chad. I came because this is the place that affords you the most freedom and the most opportunity to achieve whatever dreams God put in your heart.
Yeah. At what point in time, I'm curious, in your life, did you look at America and say, I think that's where I want to be. That's the best place to be?
You know, my journey towards America began very early. At the age of 16 months, I was diagnosed with neuroblastoma, a very rare form of childhood cancer, and stage 4. And my parents were told that any child, baby, infant with stage 4 neuroblastoma is only given a 5% chance. Only 1 in 20 survive. And for 3.5 years, I underwent chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and an operation. And through the healing hands of God, our master physician, I defied the odds and lived. But the interesting part is how I was diagnosed. For months, my mum and dad had brought me to doctor after doctor, pediatrician after pediatrician, but nobody could tell them what was wrong. And one night, with me more unsettled than even usual, they went to the emergency ward of the local children's hospital. And at the ward there was a young man who had just finished his education here in the United States as a doctor. He was an American, and he was doing his summer residency in Australia. And he looked at me and he said, look, I don't know for sure, but I have a hunch that I might have seen this before. And I think that this is what your little boy's got, and you need to get him in first thing tomorrow morning for tests. So I'm fond of saying that I haven't only studied American exceptionalism, I've lived it. In fact, I'm alive because of it. And that kind of then gave me the mojo to live life like an American. My parents said to me, they said, Nick, you know, you've overcome the greatest adversity. Now, from here on in, everything else compared to that's going to be a cakewalk. So we want you to take every risk and hunt down every opportunity. And so I've pretty much lived up to that. I was the valedictorian of my school, publicly elected to political office at the age of 19, being elected one of the youngest councilmen ever in Sydney, Australia. The first election I ever voted in, Chad, I voted for myself. It's all been downhill since then. Then just a few days after I turned 21, I was elected the youngest deputy mayor in Australian history in Sydney, a record which still stands to this day. I'm now a 4-time best-selling author. I have the distinction of being the first author to have ever had a book endorsed by a sitting president of the United States. And that, of course, came on the 3rd of March 2017, around about the time that you and I first bumped into each other in the green room at Fox. And Donald Trump took to Twitter and declared me to be a great American and that my book was a must-read. And so I've had this incredible blessing of coming to the United States. I always say that the day that you're born here or the day that you move here is the day that you win the lottery of life. And you get this incredible head start. And America's been unbelievably good to me. I came for the right reasons, I think. I came to make, not take, to give, not receive, to join the place, not complain about it or change it. The first thing I did when I came here was I started a non-profit called FLAG, the Foundation for Liberty and American Greatness. And FLAG, Chad's got 2 objectives. Number 1, teaching civics, and number 2, putting patriotism back in public schools. And we do it 3 ways. We do it through classroom visits. We do it through the creation and distribution of kid-friendly resources. So we created the Students' Constitution, Declaration of Independence, Federalist Papers in plain, easy-to-understand English that even a 5th grader can comprehend. And we do it by training teachers, where we offer professional development programs for teachers so that they can learn how to teach civics the way that it used to be taught.
You hear that, Steve?
Yes, I hear
You
it.
can learn this stuff.
I know.
You can be taught.
I can do it.
Yeah. We got to get you some of those copies of that stuff. So
I would like to thank you for bringing another guest on here to make me
No,
feel
we
like
both were like,
underachiever.
Steve, we'd like to point out Steve's underachievements.
Yes.
Steve's never been the mayor of anything.
Nope.
In America, it's not about where you start. It's about where you finish.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We'll see how it all goes, how it all shakes
Although
out.
here I sit on the same stage as you.
Look at you. Look at you. Well,
Thank you.
yeah, but no, I'm proud of you, Steve. You're gonna be something. I'm gonna be somebody. Yeah. But that's the thing. It drives me crazy, Nick, when I hear people who get offended at the idea of American exceptionalism. They feel like it's racist. They feel like it's xenophobic. They feel like all of these other adjectives that you can throw at it. There's no question in my mind, America's the greatest country on the planet. Throw statistics out. I don't care about any of that stuff. And here you come. And that's when you and I first got to know each other. I was like, that's the first thing that got out of my mouth. I was like, here's a guy from Australia who's teaching our kids American civics. And we should be ashamed of that. Like, we should be, because civics has been lost. And you don't have to spend a lot of time on the internet to see how much people don't understand about America, about its government, about how it runs, and how it works. Has that been a fruitful endeavor for you, or have you heard that response from people?
Oh, I've heard it over and over again. And look, Chad, I'm with you. I mean, I do think that the fact that young people today can't even name the vice president, don't know the first thing about the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence or the Federalist Papers. I do think that that's a crying shame. But I don't think that you should be ashamed that a guy that's come to the country is teaching it, and I'll tell you why. Sometimes it takes someone on the outside to remind you, right? So I have the zeal of a convert. Sometimes a spectator sees more of the game. And that's certainly what I think I bring to the table. I'm passionate about the founding principles of America. I'm passionate about the resources that we create, because I want everyone to understand how unique this place is, that it's the exception to the rule. I mean, that's what when I go in and I talk to a group of kids at a public school, Chad, what I explain to them is America the only country in the world that has a constitution? No. But I tell you what America is. It's the only country that's got a constitution that sets out the powers of the individual and the limits of the government. In every other country, whenever they've attempted a constitution, it's done exactly the opposite. It set out the powers of the government and the limits of the people. And that right there is where American exceptionalism began.
When you look at what's going on these days with these pandemic, the coronavirus, all of these things, and these actions that are being taken, the orders that are being passed down by the states, you got a president in Trump who is trying to navigate some very murky waters, places where really none of us have been, and he's been handed this. But a lot of people out there, the sentiment is that their liberties are being infringed and their freedoms are being taken away with some of these things. And on the other side, you have people who are so willing to give them up for the idea of safety. How do you respond to that situation that we're seeing today?
Look, it's not easy. It's certainly not easy. It's easier perhaps for you and me because we live in Texas, and Texas hasn't been that affected. I know people that have got lots of relatives in the Northeast, and they tell me that up there it's a terror. I mean, it's literally almost everyone they know has got it. A couple of relatives have died. It's a serious thing. Now, I don't doubt how serious it is for me, what I don't like, number one, is this one size fits all. Right? I can understand the restrictions that are being imposed if I lived in New York or Connecticut or New Jersey, but I don't understand why the same kind of impositions in those places should be for Arkansas or Texas or any other place that it hasn't been that affected. I think that what we should be going for is a cooperation from the people, right, as opposed to being forced for it. And I happen to believe, whether it's naive or not, I think people are essentially going to be responsible. I don't think I think people realise how bad this is. They've been watching it on television for the last 2 months, so you can't escape it. So I don't think anyone out there is going to go and start kissing someone passionately in the street for no reason, right? Unless you're Natalie. No, I'm joking. So, you know, I think people can be trusted to be responsible. I think a lot of people have said to themselves, look, I did what I was told. I stayed home. I did all of that. But it's now been 8 weeks, and I need to get back to doing what I was doing, and I really believe that. And I tell you, we do have to be cognizant that this is the way that you do lose your freedoms. Right now, I'm not saying that this is deliberate. I'm not being conspiratorial, but what I'm saying is that, you know, we have to kind of realize that it doesn't happen all. You know, when you lose your freedoms, Chad, it's not a instant thing where the government comes in one day and says no. You get conditioned, you become familiar. Okay, well, I had to do this with the pandemic, so maybe the next time the government asks you, you're a little bit more willing to go along, to get along. And that's slowly how you lose it. It's a vexed issue because we don't want people getting sick, and I feel sorry for these political leaders because, you know, they're screwed either way, right? If they keep everyone home, no one makes money, everyone goes hungry, and if they open everything back up and everyone gets sick and dies, they're screwed that way too. So it's a terrible thing, but I like to err on the side of, I think America's only going to get healthy again. I don't just mean healthy in terms of avoiding COVID or overcoming this invisible enemy. America's only going to get healthy again when we get back to being American.
Yeah. That's the deal, and it frustrates the heck out of me. And I get that. I know that nobody, you know, you go back to the movie Jaws, nobody wants to be that guy that opens the beach up too soon. And a kid gets eaten, right? Because it's hard. It's a perfect storm in New York. New York City's a whole different thing. You know, I've seen people, I was talking to a guy the other day, he has to take his cell phone before he leaves the house and wraps it in cellophane. You know, and you know, everything, it's like a decontamination thing that they have to go through every time they leave the apartment or come back in. It's a crazy, crazy deal. So anyway, I still believe America has that foundation to bounce back.
Oh, it does.
And come back and make it happen. So you've written a new book. We're going to get into that in the next segment. I'm so fascinated by this book. It's just a tremendous concept. It's crossed my mind so many times. And this historic comparison, kudos to you for putting it on paper. I'm excited about it. We're going to get into that here in a second. But first, Tac Pack. You're already getting Box of Awesome, okay, Steve? We'll see about the Tac Pack. Tac Pack, monthly premier subscription box for military, tactical, prepper, Second Amendment enthusiasts. $49.95 a month. You get at least $100 worth of gear, sometimes $150, $200 worth of stuff. Hey, you get it from different companies like our friends at 511, Sons of Liberty, Gunworks, Mission First, Tactical, Armaspec, and a whole lot more. I'm going to give you the AR-15 parts, EDC tools, knives, gear. It's going to keep you prepared for when the stuff hits the fan, kind of like it's hitting it right now. So sign up today to make it in time for the June pack. It's physically their biggest box ever. Had to get a bigger box in order to fit all the stuff in there. So SOG, Mechanics Wear, Strike Industries, a whole lot more in this one. Use promo code CHAD at checkout to receive a free extra bag of tactical goodies shipped out with your first pack. Don't wait. They sell out so fast. Maze Pack sold out in just 2 weeks, or sold out 2 weeks early, and they were gone. So people they had to wait. Go to tacpack.com. That's TAC, pack.com. Sign up today. Tacpack.com. Use offer code CHAD. Be right back. Hey, we're back with our good friend Nick Adams, best-selling author. He's got a brand new book out, Trump and Churchill. Trump and Churchill, Defenders of Western Civilization. It's coming out. I say it's out, but it's coming out here pretty quick.
It's coming out in a few days' time. It's already available to order. It's a Chad Prather kind of book. I mean,
I'm telling you.
How else can I describe it?
I'm telling you. You watch, most people when it comes to British history, like they've maybe watched the first season of The Crown, right? And they think they understand it. I think you take that show, for instance, it did a semi-fair job of pointing out that not everybody liked Winston Churchill.
Lots of people didn't like him.
Yeah.
Lots of people didn't like him, Chad. I mean, he had a very acrimonious relationship with the media. Mm-hmm. He faced down the establishment in his own party and in the government that didn't like him. Mm-hmm. He followed a very weak predecessor in Neville Chamberlain, and to say that Chamberlain had the spine of a jellyfish would be unkind to jellyfish. And if you go and compare all of those things, so the guy was fighting the media, he was fighting the establishment, he was disliked, and he followed a weak predecessor. Who does that sound like?
Yeah,
Donald Trump. If you go and,
super weak predecessor.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's Barack Obama, golly. So, so you start to look at it now. You see, on the surface, there's really not that much in common, right? Churchill was 5'6", couldn't get enough to drink. Okay, Trump's a teetotaler. Churchill loved to nap every afternoon in his pajamas. But from all appearances, Trump never sleeps.
Never sleeps.
Okay. Churchill actually began his career by opposing tariffs. Trump begins his political career by introducing tariffs. One's this compelling, soaring orator, great speaker. Then you've got Trump, who's
not so much
rather crude but very effective tweeter. So, on the surface, there's not really much there. But then as soon as you start to drill down, which is what I did in this book, Trump and Churchill, Defenders of Western Civilization, you find that there are incredible parallels, Chad, between the two men. Both alpha males, both clear thinkers and plain speakers, both intensely disliked, even hated, both loved their country, both refused to conform to expectations, didn't conceal their true self. Now, Churchill's fight, of course, was on the outside. Trump's fight is on the inside. So that's a little bit different. But, when you go, I got this in the book, we went and got newspapers from British national newspapers from the mid-1930s, late 1930s, early 1940s. And I tell you, Chad, if I didn't say to you that those excerpts were from British national newspapers about Winston Churchill, you would think, if I just read them out to you, sight unseen, you would think I was quoting the New York Times or the Washington Post, and it was about Donald Trump. So identical are the criticisms and are the accusations that are leveled. Got no judgment, doesn't take things seriously enough, too optimistic, doesn't listen to anyone around, always goes with his own gut instinct. I mean, literally, almost everything that these guys complain about with respect to Trump, the media was complaining about with respect to Churchill back then. So what I found in researching this book was that unbelievable parallels between the times and the men, and even more timely now that we find ourselves in a wartime circumstance with this COVID-19 stuff.
I like what you said. Churchill found himself fighting an enemy from the outside. Trump, in many ways, fighting from the inside. Obviously Churchill made his mark in World War II because here's a bold and brash leader compared to a Neville Chamberlain who comes along and says, we're going to stand against Hitler, we're going to stand against invading armies, we're going to stand against Germany. And then you have Trump, who that we are at war. We're at a culture war. We are at a spiritual war in many ways. We see this medical and healthcare thing that's going on right now. But to your point, Churchill was fighting the Jake Tappers and the Jim Acostas of his day, his Don Lemons, if you will, his Chris Cuomos.
Yeah, he certainly was.
His Rachel Maddows. He had them. In fact, in the leaf of the book, it says how anybody could expect him to win. I don't know, in view of his unparalleled record in losing everything he puts his hands to. That sounds exactly like something that would be said about Donald Trump.
What they were saying about Donald Trump, that he's a failure, that he's not really a billionaire, that, he hasn't had all that much success, that, his father gave him the money, and had he invested it, he'd have more money today than, all of that kind of nonsense. So they were saying the same thing. And you see, Winston Churchill and Donald Trump, Chad, disruptors, right? Catalysts for change. And when somebody like that comes along, people get pissed. People don't like it. They don't like it at all, because here's this guy that refuses to go along to get along. Here's somebody that says, you know what, I don't like the way that you do things, and I think you're pretty stupid. So I'm going to start doing things differently. Now, to you and me, that's music to our ears. We listen to that, we say, wow, because for us, for you and me, Chad, we want a leader that creates the consensus, right? Doesn't conform to the consensus. And to me, that's the real hallmark of great, true leadership, which is what both Trump and Churchill had in spades. But for some bureaucrat sitting in the government that has seen it always done the way that it's done, and doesn't like that their report or advice is no longer being treated like it's gospel,
Right.
They're pretty upset, and they're saying, well, who do you think you are? Who is this guy? But boldness, right? I think one of the reasons why Americans have such an affinity for Winston Churchill, well, first of all, Churchill's mother was American, right? So a lot of people don't realize he's half American. Secondly, he's the only person in the history of the US to ever be granted honorary citizenship. But I think more broadly, the reason why so many Americans are just fixated on Winston Churchill, because let's be honest, most Americans don't care about what else is going on in the world. It's just America that matters.
Yeah.
And that's understandable when you've got a country so big and so powerful. But Winston Churchill's an exception to that rule, right? Lots of Americans know Winston Churchill, like Winston Churchill. And I think part of it is they identify with him because he was so American. He really was American. He wasn't timid. He was bold, he was brash, he was straight talking. He could have been a Texan. Yeah. I mean, he really could have been.
Yeah, minus the height.
But, well, he couldn't do much about that.
No.
But so, he really was, in all the ways that we think of John Wayne or someone like that, in many ways, in terms of politics, that's what Winston Churchill was. Yeah. And I think that's what resonates with Americans. We want someone that kicks butt. We don't want someone that kisses it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you look at the history and how history has favored Winston Churchill. They've looked back on him. I always say you have to interpret men and women according to the times in which they live. You can't interpret them or judge them based on the times we live in. I also say never pick a hero that's still alive. Wait till they've finished the course because they'll let you down. But history, by and large, has been favorable towards Winston Churchill. It's really only now that we're starting to look and say, remember, he wasn't that well liked, and he was very against the grain. How do you think history looks at Donald Trump?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Look, Churchill wasn't Instagram ready. And in many ways, either is Donald Trump. I think something that people really loved about Winston Churchill was they could relate to him. He drank a little bit too much. He ate too much. He got gout. Yeah. He flirted with women. He was a guy that you could really kind of relate to. Now, I wrote this book, Chad, because so much has been written and said about the Trump administration and Donald Trump himself, but none of it yet from a historical perspective. And I think this is really the first book to look at the Trump presidency from a historical perspective, which is what I try to do. And it is early. I mean, it's early in the 21st century, and it's early, of course, in the Trump, because I fully expect him to be re-elected for another 4 years in November and handily defeat Beijing Biden. You like how I just casually threw that in? So,
Love it.
yeah, but I think Donald Trump is going to go down as one of the greatest presidents that the United States of America has. I'll go one step further. I think that he will be to the 21st century what Winston Churchill was to the 20th. Now, I'm with you. I mean, it's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to see next week, this consensus among people that Trump was the best and whatever else. But when you really have a look at it, right, here we are. It's November 2016, if I can transport the audience back. It's the first couple of days of November 2016. America is literally teetering on the precipice. We can go either way here. We can literally go either way. We can go down the European path of socialism, people resenting people that do well, people aspiring for mediocrity and not greatness. Mm-hmm. I mean, we can go down that. I mean, Obama has already conditioned us for that. Yeah. Now, we can go one step further with Hillary. Or we can take this massive chance on a guy that's never had political office, the guy that is saying the things that we want to hear, but we have no idea whether or not he's actually going to do them. Mm-hmm. And we choose Donald Trump. And in that moment, I believe Donald Trump literally saves America. He saves America. Mm-hmm. I mean, he has, and if he hasn't saved America indefinitely, he sure bought us some time. Yeah. He gave us a chance to get back to what we were. He gave us a chance to live up to our potential again, which we weren't doing.
Yeah. I've always said, I'm so thankful for the grace of God in that he doesn't give us what we deserve.
Yeah.
And sometimes he gives you someone like a Donald Trump that you're like, that doesn't make sense to the logical mind. And it can be a little offensive, but it was the right thing. It was the right time.
Look, I have this friendly debate with a lot of evangelicals that are friends of mine, mm-hmm. that don't like the way that he behaves. And the point that I always make to them is you can think whatever you want to think about in terms of Donald Trump's behavior, the fact that he, his personal life, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, he's done more to protect Christianity than any leader before. And you've got to accept that. Whether you think he's a real Christian, whether you don't think he's a real Christian, and I happen to think he is, he has done more to protect our faith than any other leader alive.
Yeah, no question about it. Well, regardless of what his is, he's done a lot to protect mine.
Exactly.
So we're going to dig deeper into that. Y'all hang tight. We'll be right back. Most of our audience is just going to want Nick to hang around and talk for a long time, just so they can hear him.
Just give me a phone book.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. I wish I could do it.
Pretty good.
I wish I could. That's all I can do. That's all I can. Yeah, right.
I was sitting here like this the whole time.
Weren't you though?
Well, not only because of the voice, but the accent.
You're only human.
I'm learning a lot. What did he say? What did he say?
He said you're only human.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot, and every time we go to break, I'm like, yes, what you said.
Yeah.
Very, very well articulated in a sexy voice and accent.
Aussies and Kiwis, I always say, those are English people that I can understand.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know what they're talking about in England or Ireland. They start talking, I'm like, I don't have a clue what you're saying. And they're speaking English.
Well, and look at his legs.
Yeah, he don't want you to.
He said, please make sure that you show this shot as much as possible because my legs are on point.
The first time I ever met Nick personally, we were at the Fox studio, and he had done a hit. And of course, they just shoot you from here up. And he's wearing his coat and tie and shorts.
Yes.
And it was cold outside, if I remember right. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you just go straight out the door to the car that's waiting for you. So. Actually, I think I've seen Ali Stuckey in pajamas.
He's pointing to Ali's new studio that's being built over here. I'm like, how are you ever going to get Ali out of the living room? And so they're basically building a studio over here that's going to look like a living room. Ali can just come right in her pajamas. You're right.
But I'm glad you like my Australian footwear.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
You
thank
got it going on.
Yeah, it's nice legs.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. The beauty of you, Nick, is you not only came to America, you not only did it the right way, but you moved to Texas. You moved to Texas.
Where else?
So if one goes south, you at least got this one afloat.
Well, of course, yeah. No, listen, Texas is America on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
I think Texas is to America what America is to the world.
Yeah.
It's the leading light.
Great point.
You should follow Texas's lead on
Yeah.
things, I believe. And, Texas is a state of mind, Chad.
Mm-hmm.
You know this better than anyone. You don't live in Texas. Texas lives in you.
Mm-hmm.
It's an attitude. It's a mentality. And I love it. I mean, I'm fluent in Bluebell.
Yeah.
Bucky's. How good's Bucky's?
Yeah, I could eat Bluebell off the Bucky's toilets.
Yeah.
Yummy.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yes.
Right out
No
of the bowl.
hesitation. Yeah.
Give me
Even if there's COVID floating around.
Cookies and cream.
It's so I love it. I mean, chicken fried steak,
Yeah.
honey butter biscuits from Whataburger.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't eaten
Let's
today.
Let's stop.
That's why Dallas and Fort Worth are ranked like third in the nation in obesity, because we got so much good stuff to eat.
Worth
Could you
it.
imagine how many honey butter biscuits from Whataburger Winston Churchill will eat?
I know.
Oh, he would have loved it.
I know.
He would have been all over it.
I know. That's fantastic. Now I'm hungry, Nick. To me, Texas is the center of the universe. It really is. Now I want to go sit in my truck and do a truck rant about some of the things you just said. 'Cause it's been a while since I've talked about Texas. It's a great deal. I think, though, that as our friend Colonel Allen West says, so goes Texas, so goes America. And I think that's true. You go back to the recession 2008, 2009, and we were the last one to head into that. We were one of the first ones to come back out. And I'm proud of what we're doing in response to this COVID situation and the shutdowns and things. Because I think we have true leadership. I became a political junkie because I admire true leadership. And I think what we had in Churchill, or what they had in Churchill, what we know of Churchill, was he didn't come in a package necessarily that looked like a leader. And Trump the same way, right? Crude, crass, brash in his own way, very straight and to the point. He speaks in Trumpisms.
He does.
But if you judge the fruit of the tree of what we've seen him produce, even with all things marshaled against him, I think it's been pretty good.
The number one thing that both Trump and Churchill have in common, Chad, is what I like to call testicular fortitude. Right? I mean, they don't care what other people think.
Yeah.
They are unmoved by sentiment. They are going to do what they believe is right for the people that they represent. And that's so uncommon in today's world, right? Everything is poll driven, everything is market tested. Even when a private business wants to release a product, they go and do tests on it to make sure that, and whereas these guys say, you know what, this is what I think we're going to do, and we're going to make it work because this is where it's at. My gut instinct is telling me that this is right. And that's pretty rare, and you don't get those kind of leaders every day. And so when you get one, two things happen. Number one, you start getting results. But number two, there are a whole lot of people really upset that this person is doing what they're doing. And that's really what we're seeing. I mean, before this invisible enemy came along, which, by the way, what a Churchillian turn of phrase he decided to badge that with. But before that came along, the economy was booming, the unemployment rate was the lowest it had ever been, ISIS, al-Baghdadi, Soleimani pulverized.
I miss those barbecues.
Yeah.
That was great. We should have some more of those.
No president had ever done as much to protect Israel, to protect Christians. Everything was humming along. And this guy literally turned America around.
Yeah.
And he made it great again. And I've got no doubt when he says, listen, give me another chance, I'll make it great again. I think he will.
Yeah.
I really do think he will.
Yeah, I agree with you. Tell me the best way for folks to follow you and get in touch with you. All the websites, all the socials, all that stuff.
Okay, so Twitter is @NickAdamsInUSA. That's @NickAdamsInUSA. For Facebook, it's @NickAdamsInAmerica. at Nick Adams in America. The website is nickadamsusa.com.
Okay.
nickadamsusa.com. What do you want, a phone number?
Yeah. Well, the thing about Natalie is every guest we ever have, she wants to know where you live. And you're like, well, I live in this city. And she's like, no, I want to know the number, street number, and the whole thing.
I'm going to get a text at about 11 o'clock tonight.
She likes to look you up on satellite. Yeah. That's what she does. She'll see like the Google Earth, and then she sees your front door.
I like to know where my people live.
It's kind of a weird little fetish you got there. But you're consistent. I will say that, Natalie.
I do want to know where you live.
Most guys wouldn't mind you showing up. So there's that. Don't be corrupting my man Nick though. All right.
Oh. Yeah. I've got the city down. I just got to narrow it down a little more.
Hang tight, y'all. Coming right back. I have given people bad advice in my life, but I've never recommended a bad book. And I'm telling you, I read 3 books a week. I used to read 4 or 5 books a week. I read a lot. And I've never recommended a bad book. I take Stephen King's advice when it comes to reading a book. Read it for 20 minutes. If you're not into it, get rid of it. There's other books to read, right? There are some bad books that are out there. I mean, Jack Carr can't write to save his life. He'll never come back on the show. I'm trying to get. He's doing the script supervision for the Chris Pratt series of his book anyway. But this is a great book. I heard you on our friend Andrew Wilkow's show talking about this, and I said, Nick, I was in the truck. I said, that is a great concept. Great comparison, great concept, because physically and characteristically, so many differences, but so many similarities in what these men, Trump and Churchill, went through. Thanks for writing the book, man.
I appreciate it, Chad. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And listen, if Natalie, if your body doesn't wind up missing somewhere, because Natalie's, stalked and taken you and kidnapped you or something, I want to have you back on. Keep turning this stuff out. The Forward by Newt Gingrich. You can't go wrong with that. You got a historian like Newt who's going to chime in on something like that. How hard was that to get Newt?
I was pretty honored by that. No, look, it was actually surprisingly easy. He read it. He loved it. He even says in the forward that he wishes he'd written it.
Yeah.
So
I
was very chuffed about that.
No, it's a great book. I encourage everybody, as soon as this thing comes out, you can pre-order it right now. Trump and Churchill, Defenders of Western, as Nick says, civilization. Civilization. Yeah.
I'd love to hear your Texas accent. I want to hear that Texas accent.
It's just a drawl, Natalie. It's just a draw.
You just got to say it real slow.
I'm really going to stalk you.
Yeah, how about we go outside of my R stream and I'll make you a margarita, knock him horns off.
Yeah. God bless Texas.
Hey, tomorrow is the last day for you to sign up and save money. BlazeTV.com/Chad. $30 off. $30 off your annual subscription. That's a great deal. It's the biggest discount Blaze TV's ever done. BlazeTV.com/Chad. Use promo code Chad. $30 off annual subscription. Check him out. Nick Adams is the man. Follow everything he's doing, and I'm telling you, you're going to learn a lot, and we're going to get Party Foul Steve a copy of the Constitution so he can read the thing. And Steve's going to be like, holy shit, I didn't know I could do that.
What's that?
I got a right to do that. And be like, yeah, you do. There it is. There it is. Nick, thanks for coming on, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for watching. Give us a good rating and a review. We deserve it. We love y'all. God bless you. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.